I started making wine when I was 21 years old. The wine arrived into my life at the age of 16, 17. Was the time I was starting to go with my uncle sometimes at his winery, my uncle Giusto. And I really start to love the word, even spending not much time, just the weekend, and then step by step, arriving to the age to decide which university, I start to think about winemaking, and so I decided to start. And then almost at the end of the university was the moment that natural wine was starting to push a little bit on the European wine world, and was fascinating me a lot. So I was finding more emotional person in that world, and I start to visit many producers and drinking, and there was a little voice that was asking me to maybe come back to my Sicily and start my own project. That's at the beginning was just renting 1 hectare of vineyards. So I was not imagining that the story was putting me to project different things and to have a real winery, but after 22 years now, it's a reality. So I come back to Vittoria. Vittoria is my appellation. It's an old, now the unique DOCG in Sicily. We are close to the sea in the southeast. And after some years where the international grape were more popular in Sicily, was starting more the attention to the indigenous. In Vittoria we had this wonderful Frappato, the Vittoria grape, that I was studying a little bit during university for something for the exam of university, and then I really start to love, because there was a very good potential in the grape, low color, compact bunches, and thick skin, and a lot of very nice flavor. And so I decided to focus on these 2 red grapes, the grapes of my territory. Vittoria stays at the feet of Iblei Mountains. That is a chain of mountains that connect Syracuse with with Catania, but 90% of the mountains are in Ragusa province. And Sicily was all under the sea millions of years ago, so all our rock are of marine origin, and we have a kind of limestone super interesting. Our appellation starts from 0 level by the sea to 500 meters above the sea, and the historical contrada stay more at 250, where I have my vineyards now. So I work now in 9 different contrada, around 38 hectares of vineyards, divided more, maybe 60% red varieties, and then 35% white. Yeah, only indigenous grape. So I run, from my beginning, I was believing a lot in sustainable agriculture. I think that's the unique way for us human beings to return what we receive, is to respect our land, and also to have a very good fruit, to come back to the sense of the taste. So there are many riffs on the respect of the nature, the quality of things and fruit and products we use every day for our life. And when we do this choice, of course, and you decide to be growers, the unique things you can do is respect what you have around, and spend your life to push this land into something more respectable, beautiful, to give to the people that will run later as better than before. No? So it is my aim at the moment. So my farm is composed by vineyards, of course, but more than 10 years ago I started also project of biodiversity, really intense. Every time I was buying land, and in Sicily, fortunately, I had the possibility to buy because it was more easy, and there is more land, and Vittoria especially is still very sustainable. And I was living all the culture, so now we have olive trees, wheat, the indigenous to Minia. We have pears, we have orange fruit, we have the vegetable garden at the farm, and a lot of Mediterranean bush and forest around the vineyards, and is the represent 50% of the land. So our work every day is part in the vineyards, of course, because it required a lot of hours, but also for the other culture. That's also permit me to have my team every day for all the time. So I work with my unique team, and we don't have too many people coming just for a few days. So it's a way also to train people, to create a team, and it is more focused and very really trained on our work. So when I started making wine, the wine in my territory was not living a very good moment. So many vineyards they were abandoned. The cooperative, they were paying nothing for 1 kilo of grape. We don't have cooperative in Vittoria. Cooperative are more in the west of Sicily, and in a way they help to survive the small property, no? Because the grower find a place where to bring the grape. Even there is a big crisis for the price that is not very well paid all the time. And but in Vittoria, viticulture is only in the hand of a family. So people that were not able to sell the grape or to transform in wine, they were designed to explant the vineyards. And I found this situation. So in a way was good for me, because starting with nothing, it was more easy to find land, maybe to plant vineyards, or to find some small piece of vineyards almost abandoned. So all the time I was looking, there was a force inside me that was telling, try to get, and there is a way to improve this land. And Vittoria needs it also growers that believe in a different agriculture, because Vittoria, that was a big territory for production. With the Pachino, Etna, and Vittoria, we were the three territory for the reds. Phylloxera arrived late in Vittoria, and for more than 20 years the wine economy exploded. So there were all the historical building. Now you can see in my territory that we can count 800 Palmento. Palmento is the oldest cellar in Vittoria, and in the beginning of last century there were a big tradition to start to make wine for many people in Vittoria. That after the Phylloxera and the World War, it was a crisis, they stopped around 1915, and then they replanted. But the big change arrived on the 50s, where there was the conversion between viticulture, from viticulture to greenhouse. So the big economy of my territory became more greenhouse by the cost. And in the internal side, we remain few family producing, but I think represent really one of the best territory for reds for sure, because the combination between this limestone, the climates, and the indigenous variety makes wine so elegant and fresh. And people, they don't expect that in Sicily. People think Sicily is an island in the Mediterranean Sea, but of course Sicily is made by 70% of mountains, is made by amazing limestone. The climates close to the sea is giving a very nice thermal excursion to permit to have a great wine, and not always jammy as some people think, you know. more warm wine. Yeah. So I arrived maybe in this moment and putting passion, effort, and never stopping maybe to work every day. I was able to build something step by step, and so now is a nice reality. And I'm happy that every time in front of empty land, maybe a lot of Sicilian, they were seeing empty glasses. All the time I was seeing full glasses to make something. And of course, this means that was more difficult because I tried to destroy many walls, the mentality, to build a team of people that maybe they are born in this kind of mentality, but start to change is not easy. But today we can say that it's possible. It's possible. Yeah. It's sense of responsibility that I was feeling from my beginning. Especially, I was admiring people that in the 20 years ago they were so so proud to make this kind of agriculture. So I understood that this was the way. Of course, when we decide this the way, doesn't mean that you are a good grower. Means that you want to do good things, but you don't have the experience. Because to have results in sustainable agriculture is something that's required study, required experience, and experiments also. So of course I visited many producers between Italy, France to see the technical. I studied on the book, I did some courses to bring all the time a new knowledge in the farm. But of course it's something that needs also times, because the soil to change and to give them more energy to the vines needs more time, but is a more stable way to guarantee healthy fruit, healthy vines, healthy nature. So in the at the beginning I was just doing a normal natural agriculture, just not using chemical, maybe only sulfur, because at that time we didn't have any needs of copper. Now, yes, because the climate change is changing also the humidity of the air, and the spring especially. But at that time I was trying to not to work too much the soil, so was in my territory they were using a lot of the phrase, I don't know the name in English, but is a machine that's mineralize and destroy a lot of the soil, because it's a lot is used in the greenhouse. So all the growers, they use the same kind of tractor and machine, but this was not good. So I decided to exclude completely, reduce to work the soil almost a couple of times per year, and then work it by manual way and no chemical products. So simple things. But step by step, understand that it was important to introduce other culture, to introduce technical more focus in biodynamic. So now it's more than maybe 12 years that we are completely focused in biodynamic process. And we improve our way to give organic substance. My soil is made of 80% of sand. So the challenge to create organic substance is very difficult, but is possible. And thanks to our cover crop that is made by 8-10 different scents. Depends on the quality of the soil, and depends if we want more energy, more nitrogen, or more oxygenation. We can change parcel by parcel. When it's more sandy, red sand, we have sand with a lot of iron, and there is potassium in the soil, but the roots are not able to catch, no, because we don't have water. So water connect the part of the organic substance, connect the soil, and water is retained inside. And having sand, we don't have a lot of organic substance, so we lose also the water. So it's a cycle that we have to support in a way. Not to change completely, because of course the nature of the soil, we cannot change the structure of a soil with our sustainable agriculture, but we can support in a way, of course, so we can change something. So we use beige and fava beans for the maybe 35% of the mix. That's we directly seeds in our wheat field. So the rotation of the wheats is made with beige and fava beans, and we use the fava beans for the vineyards, mixing with other seeds that we buy. So, and we buy peas, we buy sinap. So sinap is very good, and also we use our grain, our wheat. So the synaps, the wheat are very good to give more oxygenation to the soil, and all the other elements maybe they give more nitrogen. So we need the nitrogen because the soil is very poor, but we also need to open a little bit because our temperature dry the soil. That became sometimes also 80 degrees of temperature during the summer, so you cannot put the feet nude. It's like sea sand, no? So when you touch the sea sand, is the same. And this mix of a cover crop helps also to maintain low temperature during spring and beginning of summer, because we cut, so we live there for a while until maintaining more soft the soil, until of course the temperature grow too much. And that moment and before we start to work the soil and we put everything inside. But the most important things, or maybe they are both important, but we have to think that of course the cover crop is useful for the vegetation outside, but is more important sometimes for the roots inside. So the vegetation of course give organic substance that is decompacted and transformed, but the roots, they give nitrogen, they give oxygenation, they create a canal. That's when you cut the herbs, they dry, so give more oxygen, and that row is completely soft. So when we plant, when we seed one row and not the other, for example, you can see really the difference, especially at the beginning. When you start to use the machine, you see, you can touch the rows with the cover crop is very soft. And thanks to the compost that we make into the farm, all the things are coming from the pruning of all the farm, and mixing with a little bit of manure of a friend that work very well, 30 minutes far from my place. We support some piece of land that suffer more because maybe has more limestone and very few content of organic substance. But step by step, of course, we measure also the organic substance, and it's growing. It's something that's in the last maybe 5 years, we can say that the vineyards are very healthy, and even the climate change was impacting a lot, because in the last 5 vintage we had totally different vintage. But especially the 24 that we had only 100 millimeters of rain. So all the results that we had arrived from the agriculture of the last years. So I'm very proud of it. It needs a lot of effort, and also to teach to the team to be there in all the moments nature required, but it's possible to have a good fruit, a good quantity, a good healthy vineyards, working in sustainable agriculture, of course. Winemaking for me is must be an expression of terroir, the soil, the place, and the person. Because of course everything is also filtered by the person, the choice, the feeling. So I never changed my way, I can say, in a way, from the beginning, especially for the feeling. So the winemaking for me must be a free process, followed by a person that is able to understand what's happening. And this means that you have to start from a very good grape, sane, and this is not easy to have, of course, because belong to another part of our job that is not. And there is one thing very important: the difference between the grape we grow and the grape we buy. So it's important to work with grape that we grow, because we know in a different way. And also I think is a work that must be made by a vineyard, means starting from grape, growing grape, transforming the grape into wine. Is a passage that in the last 5 years is not so diffuse. It's more popular to buy grape and to work this part of the process, but I feel to be vineyard, and I like to talk about this. So my grape is coming from my agriculture, so I know very well. I follow the grape all the time, and I know what's happening in that parcel in a way. So of course I try to understand with some analysis in the moments of picking, but I go also to taste and to measure the sugar. And every afternoon during vintage, I turn the vineyards to understand what is the best moment, and deciding which grape to pick the day later. And then we ferment spontaneously, so I don't use any pied de cuve. So each vineyard starts in a tank, in a cuvée, depends what I want to use. I use more concrete, raw concrete, so it's not lined. And except for part of the white, I use big barrels, 20 hectoliters Austrian oak for fermentation of the must. So usually the maceration stay between 2 weeks to 3-4 weeks. It depends on the wine I want to make. During fermentation maceration, we make 1 pumping over per day, depends the vineyards. But of course, spontaneous fermentation, if the grape is sane, is good, and low pH, we have the good things, that the potential of alcohol is not very high. So our yeast, they go fast to finish fermentation. And one of the most important things in natural winemaking is to finish fermentation at 0. This is the most important things, because if you don't have this one, you can go inside a lot of different problems. And of course I have the fortune to have a territory that give me grape imbalance from these points of view, because pH usually stay at 3.2, acidity, total acidity is 5.5, 6.5, and the yeast they go, and the alcohol maximum point is 13, so it stays between 12.5 13. Of course happens sometimes in some vintage, for example I remember the 22, that you can have a little stop of fermentation, but helping with other tanks that are fermenting, you try to resolve the situation. But if you have a same grape, you work very well in the vineyards. I think in the grape there are all the macro elements also to support the yeast to go. And then leaving the wine aging, tasting, and deciding the best container that we want. Container is something that belongs to the choice to the person. I like concrete, for example, is porous. I like all the porous material. Stainless steel, of course, close to match my wines. They go a reduction more than porous material as oak, clay, concrete. I use more concrete, but I also use oak, for example. And then must be clean and must represent the soil, the place, and not too much the winemaking approach, of the grower. Simple.